It's days to the planned strike. The federal government and many state governments have appealed for calm, asking the youth to shelve the protest. But what kind of information and orientation should government agencies push out to the public at a time like this? How can this situation be effectively managed to avoid chaos? We have in the studios Malam Idi Mohammed Farouk, IMF, to help us look at this issue. Very warm welcome to Newsnight, Malam Idi Farouk.
Thank you, Christian Ogodo. My pleasure.
Yes, let's start from, information dissemination, which you're supposed to be a great master of as a former Director General of the National Orientation Agency. Do you think that government information to the public, to the intending protesting youths are, congent enough to dissuade the would-be protesters?
Unfortunately, no. There's too much arrogance in addressing the issue. Protests, every citizen has the constitutional right to protest. A small story, during the Abacha regime, Nigeria was like a pariah nation, so to speak. I went to London and then with some friends went to the embassy, Northumberland. And when we came out of the embassy, across the road on the other side, there was about 200-300 people shouting all kinds of things against the Abacha regime. And when we came out, one of us was holding a bag, and I think one of the enthusiastic one started to run across the road, and then the police stopped him because the police was there. And I think that if I was to have advice, I could have allowed it to go on in the sense that it is their right to so do. The police must give protection, but the organizers themselves must give the police information as to which their route, where they are going. The fear is that it can be hijacked. And it could even have been hijacked without the organizers, who seem to be faceless, without them knowing. Because there is hunger, like in the country. There is poverty in the country. There is, governance must be cut its coat properly.
Yeah, because the theme of the protest,
yes.
Some people say, is very succinct, at this time
but
of
when
history and bad governance.
Exactly. But when you now add to it, remove change of government, then you have gone into another realm, in my opinion. You have gone in it must be that some politicians or politics have come into it.
Does that hashtag end bad governance, symbolizes regime change?
No, but I've had also call for regime change.
It's not election time. Our elections are
exactly.
Our election in this country is cyclical.
And that is why I guess the government itself believes that politics has come into it. But I haven't said that. All the people who talk to are talking with so much arrogance.
Let me ask you this very quickly.
Yes.
Why is the government of today, fidgeting? This same government and the previous government organized massive protests in 2014 and 2015 prior to the general elections that brought Buhari.
But it did not include regime change. that what's called the protest you talked about.
It led, of course,
It did not. It is, I think, in my opinion, that the call for regime change sounds like a coup attempt, so to speak.
Are the organizers saying regime change?
Who knows the organizers?
The organizers, but we just heard that the government has frozen the UBA account of the so-called faceless organizers.
Meaning that what government again should do is to let us know who they are, and if they are involved in regime change talk.
Well, sorry, Malam Idi Farouk, I think you're bringing another dimension, into the entirety. Into the entirety of this protest.
Yeah, how?
In the public sphere, there, what I mean is on the minds of the people is end bad #end bad governance.
I am not against that hashtag end bad government, because really there is bad governance, so to speak. You understand? There is bad governance. And I think that government itself has listened and they've had enough. And that's why so many action is being taken, which seems to me like...
Are the actions far-reaching?
Not enough.
Distributing this palliatives, a
20 bags, 20 trailers of rice per state.
What would that
do? It's not a palliative.
I mean, it's the same, circle of the last regime that was saying.
Meaning that somebody must have been given the contract to bring that rice. 20 bags of rice or 20 whatever rice to every state is not palliative. And I think at this point in time, the government itself must begin to think out of the box how to apply itself positively in the minds of the people, how it must apply itself in providing all such things that this protest is calling for.
Don't the governors, the subnationals, really, hold a bigger stake in the welfare of the people here? Because all eyes are always to the government at the center. Nobody is holding the local government chairman accountable. Nobody is saying, why don't we have roads? Why the primary health care not working? Shouldn't Nigeria have a major constitutional change as it is now?
You see, when the president himself announced a removal of subsidy, I agreed with it. Because when you talked about subsidy...
Has subsidy been removed now?
No, I don't know.
But we should know. What is the information out there?
But when you announce subsidy...
Madam Farouk, you're just talking about the poor management of information by government.
Management.
So,
no, it's not even poor management of information. It is poor management of our affairs, generally speaking. It's not the information, it's not the poor management. You can hire, if you are doing all that is right and good,
you don't need propaganda.
You don't even need propaganda, you don't need management. It will sell itself. As we speak, I agree with the protesters that there is bad governance. I agree with the protesters that government is not doing enough to alleviate the sufferings and the poverty of the people. The convoy of some of our officials is nauseating. One man cannot go out with 20, 30, 40 cars. Doing what? Government itself bought 460 minimum, I don't know how, minimum of jeeps, not made in Nigeria, at 150 million naira each. I want to ask, what happened to the jeeps of the 9th Assembly? And what also happens to the jeeps of the 8th Assembly? Do they steal it? Do they take it? Because I had occupied government office. Immediately you are removed or your term ends, whatever you are using, you leave behind for the next person. So there is bad governance.
There's no prudence in government management.
And if there is no prudence, that equals to bad governance. No prudence equals to bad governance. And I agree with them that there is bad governance. But the fear is that it can be, it must be, if the protest goes on, it can be hijacked. And that's why I came up with...
Who are the people who will hijack it? Because government is... Who are those that could hijack this protest? Who are the possible people? Nigerians?
Yeah, other Nigerians who are criminally minded. These people are not criminally minded. But when you begin to go on the streets, and of course suddenly there are breakages here, you break the car here, you broke into something. Those are the people that we're afraid of. Me, I'm afraid of those people myself.
Let's look at insecurity, which to a large extent has fueled the issue of whether end bad governance and the rest, the impoverishment of the people, illegal mining activities, which is like all and sundry. When I say all and sundry, I'm talking of the people high up there protecting the illegal miners, terrorist bandits, turned miners from Zamfara to Niger State. They cannot close their eyes to it. Isn't that one issue
Extremely
that
sad.
should be nipped in the bud?
Already it cannot be nipped in the bud. It's already It's
now part of
yes.
us. It's now part of us.
It is very sad. I haven't been to my home in Kaduna in the past 1 year because I can't use the train and I can't go by road. You know, generally speaking, there is bad governance. And I think that these people are right in calling. But I think that government already is beginning to listen, and it has had and started to do certain things which it ought to have done before now.
Look, President Tinubu has always been an advocate of true federalism, you know, restructuring of the federation called Nigeria. Today, he's on the saddle where he can so direct such implementation, either by looking at the 2014 Jonathan National Confab report, take it to the National Assembly, you know, fine-tune it and take it to the National Assembly, and let's look at the issue of restructuring, which is very close to his heart. Why do you think he's foot dragging? Are there more pressing issues than that?
Than that? What do you mean by than that?
Than, you know, the restructuring of Nigeria.
Yeah, what does that really
Maybe
mean?
a good governance system may come out of it. Some people are saying the National Assembly is unwieldy.
I agree. If you ask me, I want the parliamentary system where the head of government will be in parliament. And we see them every day talk, and what's it called? This one that with the presidential system, as far as I'm concerned, is unwieldy, a la Nigerian version. And it must, I mean, why do we need 460 of them? What is their salary? What are their allowances? What laws do they pass in the interest of the Nigerian people? I think that if restructuring means bringing sanity to the system, I agree with you. What else? I also agree with state police. Because with state police, in my opinion, people say it will be politicized and things like that. But then there will still be some, is the Nigerian police not politicized? We are under-policed, and in every election you want to hear, even the one that will happen tomorrow next, the police will tell you they are sending 10,000 policemen. Where do they get them from? Where are they? So restructuring, I agree, if it is meaning we should have our state police, if it is meaning that good governance will now be instilled in the system, why not? Otherwise, what else is restructuring? I also appreciate the fact that the local governments have had their, now having their financial autonomy. Maybe. I also had to have to add a maybe. In 1987, I was local government chairman in Kaduna, Kaduna local government chairman. It's not like as it is done now. And it is under the military. Why is it that the military knows what to do more than we politicians?
Do they know what to do better than us?
In the area
of governance?
So to speak. Yes. I served under 3 military administrations. Sarki Mukhtar.
And Nigeria was better then?
No, I'm talking about how governance is taken.
You just said that the military administration is better than civil administration, and you're using the comparison of 1987 when you were local government chairman.
Sure.
So,
what I'm saying here is that we didn't have what we have now. During the military, they used pijukas. You can't buy vehicles that are not made in Nigeria. Today, even in the southeast, the government wanted to buy vehicles for them. They wanted to buy from Innocent. The people said no, they want Japan. It cannot happen under the military. And therefore, Mr. President must wake up and put a little element of military into it.
But all those assembly plants died even during military regimes too, even though if they built it, started by the regime of General Yakubu Gowon, the Kaduna Peugeot automobile in Kaduna, Volkswagen in Lagos.
Hello, Mr. Chris Ogodo. That's not true.
What is true here?
I was member of the board of Peugeot.
Before the coming of democracy in 1999, was there still Peugeot automobile in Kaduna? Were they still functional? Was there still? Please, I'm bringing facts to you now. I said the creation or the establishment of the various motor assembly plants in Nigeria by the military government all died under the military government. Prove it wrong. By 1999, were there still motor assembly plants?
Sure.
Like?
As a commissioner of Kaduna State, I represented Kaduna State in Peugeot. Because it is the directorship is served between Katsina and Kaduna.
What year?
Yes, and we are using the vehicles. What I'm saying is that there has to be some element of faults from the president. You gave money. We removed the oil
revenues.
We removed the
subsidy.
And you gave it to the states. I agree with the removal of oil subsidy, but I do not agree with putting it into the what they call the federal whatever
federation account.
And then divided like that. So some states that were assuming 10 million began to get 15, 20 million. But the president didn't give a directive. You can say, yes, everybody is independent, but then if I'm giving you additional money, I should tell you what to do with the money.
It's the money that they're entitled to. It's a federation allocation account. So the president cannot give directive on how a state should spend its own money.
You say that it is their entitlement, and I'm saying, no, it's not their entitlement. Because it is not their entitlement. And if the president tries to be magnanimous and thinks he is doing things in the interest of Nigerians, he should be able to tell them, as I give you this money, Mr. Ogodo, I will appreciate you use it to alleviate the suffering.
They could as well withhold the money and do the execution or the expenditure of that money himself, which is unconstitutional. Let's look at issues that are constitutional here, where he, as a president, cannot overrack himself. Those are the key issues, the issues of governance.
You don't think that if things are going, why is it that when things are going bad in the state, they run to the federal? Why don't they just sit down on their own and say, look, I'm independent, I'm going to solve it myself? if they can do that, I thought that, Mr. President, it doesn't have to be an order as you what the company, he can say it. I'm giving you additional money in the interest of development and things.
Yeah.
So what's wrong with that?
All right, Malam Idi Mohammed Farouk, the one known as IMF, former Director General of the National Orientation Agency. It's a great pleasure having you on Newsnight. The discourse continues. It's inexhaustible.
Chris Ogoda, who is also now CEO. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. All right.